My name is Sen.Dabakis. This is Up Utah. This is the Roundtable part of the show. We're happy to have you with us. Bill Allred is here. He's the morning host on Radio from Hell on X96. Still doing the gig. Still unbelievably popular. I wish we had the audience you have on radio.
I'll see what I can do about that.
Isaac Ayam is here. Isaac is a young Democrat and the future governor of the state of Utah, and a terrific woman who was at one time in Washington, D.C. Who did you work for, Billy Gay?
I can't remember.
I know. Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill, exactly.
That's right.
So we're happy to have you here. Right now, let's talk about the interesting situation. Jackie Biskupski is apparently going to be the next mayor of Salt Lake, but there are some technicalities, and it's going to be a few more days before it's officially certified. Is there any way Ralph Becker we could all be shocked when the official announcement comes? What do you think, Isaac?
I just don't see how the math works out for him. With less than 5,000 votes, he'd have to win a huge chunk of those votes, and I just don't see how the math would work.
Yeah, not all of those ballots are Salt Lake City ballots, the ones that still have to be counted. So
Right. So,
probably not. I think I heard from inside sources that he was still very positive and still thinking positively, though, and so.
the mayor is, huh?
Yeah.
That works for Christian Scientists.
Well, does it change the world, the fact that that People magazine is doing a story about the Salt Lake City mayor election? I mean, the fact that this bastion of conservatism has elected a lesbian as the mayor, is it a big deal, or is it a sideshow, Billy?
Well, Salt Lake City is not a bastion of conservatism. It hasn't been for some time. And I think that Jackie just had such an extremely superior campaign, and her message for everyone, it wasn't just I love this city, it was I love the people who live in this city, and I think they deserve better, and I can deliver it.
Don't you get tired of hearing it, though? In a way, openly gay mayor, openly gay state senator.
Absolutely.
I mean, in a way, hasn't it? It's kind of irrelevant.
It certainly
It's irrelevant to the job she'll do.
It is, but it's also an important point, because as a young gay teen in Utah, when I was growing up and I looked up at the legislature and saw Jackie and Scott McCoy, it was a very inspirational thing for me, because I looked and saw, okay, I can be a part of this community, I can find a place in this state, and I can do things to improve my community.
So it's a good role. It's a good role model.
It is. It's a good story. I agree that it shouldn't necessarily be the focus, but it's a good inspirational story.
There's been a lot of Facebook back and forth about this, with some of the people saying, look, we've had it, just is she going to be a good mayor, and this is not important. But I think what Isaac says is kind of important, and that is, let's have 2 or 3 days where we say, for the sake of all of those generations of LGBT people who've lived in closets and been afraid of their church and for their jobs and for their life, you know what? This city did something kind of extraordinary. So let's have 2 or 3 days of saying, yeah, we got a lesbian mayor.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go out and we're going to fill potholes and do whatever it is that mayors.
But one other thing, Jackie had a really rough time in the legislature. She was so abused and disrespected by the conservative Republicans that it was absolutely a disgrace. And I hope those people understand they couldn't break her spirit. And she just demonstrated to everyone that she could persevere as a person. I don't know, gay or not, a lot of people who could have taken the kind of abuse she did in the legislature and the disrespect as a public official and succeed and go forward. And I commend her for it. I think she's a role model, really.
A little like Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's great that I think you said she ran a great campaign. How she did that was, I think she proved that she was the common person's candidate.
Right.
Ralph Becker, and I like Ralph. I mean, he's a personable guy, and I like him. But he seemed to always be floating kind of high above the common man a little bit and lofty in the clouds. And I suspect that Salt Lake City employees who live within the city limits, who could vote, voted for Jackie Biskupski.
Interesting.
Yeah, Ralph is ethereal,
Yeah.
and I put the burden on a staff that just seemed completely aloof.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had a high-paid staff person who actually wrote anonymous blogs about Jackie. And here's the real key thing for me, because I took the position as a new voter in the city, who's going to impress me the most? Who's going to win my vote? And there were several things that made a difference, but one of them was when that man wasn't fired. He remained on the public payroll in another job, and that.
But I think we're going a little bit.
That was terrible.
A little bit in a bad direction, because people might get the idea that Ralph was a bad mayor or not a nice man.
And that's the point.
No, but that
I think a lot of people that voted for Jackie think that Ralph has done a great job as mayor.
Sure.
But there's a reason that it's so hard to win a third term, because things start to build up over the years. The blue parking meters, the big theater, the bike lanes. People that are supportive of you may lose. There was definitely an enthusiasm gap in this election, and I think Jackie was able to capture on that and get people to swing over to her vision of change in a new direction.
Including the fact that he at one time said he wasn't going to seek re-election.
So let's talk for the remaining moments we have about a police shooting in Cedar City.
Right.
It was eerily like a bad situation that happened in Saratoga Springs that involved a man with a samurai sword. In Saratoga Springs, it was an African American. He ended up dead. In Cedar City, though, the police seem to have found a way to work it out, and even though he spit on the policeman and allegedly, and there were problems, nobody died in that.
Well, he was white. Cedar City guy was white.
Right.
So maybe, is that the difference?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, every situation is different. But, I mean, the police in Cedar City got right in there and grappled with this guy even.
Even when they were spitting on him and biting him and everything.
They were willing to go to some extra lengths to not shoot him. The cops in Saratoga Springs were at a distance and shot. So I don't know.
Well, so I think the main thing that we need to remember is that the vast majority of men and women in uniform do their jobs exceptionally well and serve the public. And so most of the encounters they have with the public are like that in Cedar City, where they do their jobs without incident. They're able to make the community safer, but sometimes there are things like Saratoga Springs that are problematic, and I think that's where we start to lose the public trust, that it hurts the police officers who are doing their job on a daily basis, day in and day out, because they've lost trust with the public, and it makes it all that much harder for them.
I mean, there's some eerie video of that young African-American in Cedar Springs. Looks like he's running for his life.
Saratoga,
Saratoga Springs, yeah. Billy, anything on, well, actually, we don't have time. Billy A. Larson, Bill Allred, Isaac Heim, thank you so much for being on the show today. We'll be back with a final word. Stay with us on Up, Utah Progressives.
Furnishings provided by Madison.